Joining us.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast.
You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And we're back. You know, finding a match is not so easy. You would think with all the technology and media and social media, it'd be easy to find a match, but it's not. And people, of course, are turning again to matchmakers and dating coaches. Our guest is here from Israel, Aleeza Ben Shalom, an American-Israeli matchmaker, relationship coach, author, reality television personality. You probably saw her on Netflix with the series on Jewish Matchmaking. She also wrote Matchmaker Matchmaker, Find Me a Love That Lasts, and she's also involved with the Jewish Matchmaking movement. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So why do you suppose that with all the technology and people can have friends, they can go online, there's so many apps and there's WhatsApp groups, why are people having such a difficult time meeting?
I think in the modern world, we are highly distracted. We want to do everything but find our person. First, we want to grow up, and then we need to go to school, and then we need to get a job, and then we need to earn a lot of money because then we have to get settled. And by the time we get settled and we're ready to like take, fine person pop into life, people wake up in their mid-30s or mid-40s, and time has really gone by so fast. And we have made being independent and growing up and doing our own thing something that people really strive for, as opposed to, yes, of course, so you'll grow up, but you're not going to be independent. You're going to get married. You're going to have a family. You're going to have a different type of relationship in the world where you happen to work, of course. You have a job that you love. Good for you. Earn a good living. Great. But having a family and a foundation and somebody at home and building a life together, I think that should be the number one priority. And it's not today. And that's why they're having a hard time meeting, because we're just distracted. We're busy. The world's kind of an exciting place.
It is a very exciting place.
Too.
But here's the thing, though. From years ago, from what I've read, and maybe you can elucidate more, is that women can afford to be choosier because they have their own careers and making their own money. So while maybe 100 years ago, maybe they settled, they don't have to. So you have a situation where, and men also becoming much choosier, much pickier, especially in singles hotspots like the west side of Manhattan, where while he's talking to one person, then you're looking over your shoulder to see about somebody else. So all these things contribute to that.
Yes, I think that these things are a part of it as well, but everybody's actually picky, right? If you think about it, I'm sure you chose your wife of what you were looking for. You weren't necessarily like, there's places we can compromise and not so much. There's things that still give everybody the ick where you're like, yeah, like you, not for me. You can go out with my friend. So there's a lot of moving parts. And I think modern day, we do have many more options. We can virtually be anywhere at any time of the day or night, and we can make things happen instantaneously. And before, you lived in your little town with your little community. And, if you got out of your town once in a while, it was like, oh, you made a big trek. Now it's like, you want to go from the east side to the west side. They're like, oh, it's too far. Are you kidding me?
Let's do a Zoom date. You're on the east side. I'm on the west side, right?
You're in the same state. You're in the same city. You can't get on some form of transportation and go meet. Nah, I don't know. It's not going to be worth it. I don't want to waste my time, because if it's not worth it, so I'll just do I'll text you, I'll call you, I'll Zoom with you, I'll see if I like you. And then if I maybe like you, then maybe I'll think about spending my time with you on a date, as opposed to just meeting organically, figuring it out, seeing if it's going to work, trying a date and giving it a shot in real life. IRL in real life doesn't happen so often anymore.
So let me ask you this question. In the Orthodox world, especially the more religious ones, they have what's called a shidduch resume, where in order to go on a date, you got to submit a resume. Do you like that idea?
I do. I like the shidduch resume because it gives you a format and it gives you data and information. A lot of people are like, love and romance and heart and all of that. I'm like, data, information. Is this a good match? Are your values aligned? Are your beliefs aligned?
But it's become a business almost.
Well, it is also, and the truth is, if you do not have people spending their full time work and effort on doing this, it's not going to happen, actually, because the world has really gone in different directions. And it's not like, well, you'll get married because you need to, because you have to, like you said, like, oh, women, you need to get married so that somebody will support you because you can't live in my house anymore. You got to get out. It's not like that anymore. I could live alone if I want for the rest of my life, comfortably, might I add, but without a family if I don't work really hard to find one. And after I get a little burnt out of trying to find it on my own, if there's nobody else helping me, like there's apps you can swipe, but it's not highly
But aren't people
functional.
too superficial because they look quickly at a resume? Oh, I have 50 resumes. Okay, I'm going to chuck all of them. I'm going to look for the ultimate resume. So while I understand people present themselves, but also gives them a means of just another way of just not paying any attention to really what the resume
How
has.
else are we going to swap data and information that is as accurate as possible?
Well, maybe
So-
that's where the matchmaker comes in, because you're able to say, I know you personally, I know you personally.
But
and
I have
think
to
you-
still share. But I still have to share all those details. Like you
But-
still have to know where they grew up and where they're from and who are they connected to and who is a reference I could call. Like we still have to. I still have to pass that information on. And for the truth is, the resume probably helps the shadchan more than it helps the single. Because for
That's my
me,
point.
yeah, but for me to go through everything and like say it again and again and again, here, take a look at this here. And then I have to give reasons. I think I should give 3 reasons why I think this shidduch is in alignment and why we should move forward. And then I might even want to add one thing where I'm like, listen, it may or may not work because of this. This may be a reason to be hesitant, but I'd much rather you go out. I either met them in person, I know them, they're a friend of a friend, something, whatever the connection is. Like back up why you believe in the match. And if you don't have any good reasons, then why are you pushing it? Right? So don't push something you don't know or don't believe in it because you're like, well, you just need a date. You haven't had a date in a while. So here, go out. That's not what I believe in. I think that we should make an effort, but we are also filtering through many more people than Yenta. Like the Yenta in the community, she went through here, a couple families here and a couple families there. We played matchmaker. We put people together, the long distance, those types of things. It didn't exist. You couldn't get there so easily. If it did exist, it was just much more rare. Modern day, long distance is just normal. You're like so blessed if you can get a shidduch in your community. It's such an incredible blessing to have somebody close to home so that you can have both families around and all of that. Modern day, we have people all across the globe. I'm not just talking like United States, Israel, South America, South Africa, Australia. We have people everywhere. And all of these small communities, especially the Jewish ones, in Europe, they are suffering tremendously. It's so small. There's like 400 singles in Germany. And they're like, if you meet everybody that's there, you literally know every single that's there. It's not a baby. You know everybody. That's it. What are you going to do? So you either have to import or export. You either have to bring somebody
Or
in.
they got to call Aleeza Ben Shalom.
Yeah, well, come. We're gonna work. So my goal is to create this Jewish matchmaking movement, which is a global movement for communities to make matches. And I'm not looking to make the matches. I'm looking to make the matchmakers. I want to be the matchmaker of the matchmakers, train communities, and then I want to interconnect all of the communities. So if you imagine a big map and you're seeing all of these different communities, Germany and UK, we're working with South Africa. We're also working South America, Chile, Argentina, Mexico, Israel. We're all over. And I want everybody to know if I travel and I end up in Mexico City, I should be able to click somewhere and know who's the matchmaker in the city. How do you do that today? There's no answer. There is literally nowhere to go, but starting this whole movement. So jewishmatchmaking.com, not today, but soon we'll have a massive map and we are going to start to put cities on the map with the matchmakers, the events that they're having, the communities, and we are going to interconnect all of the matchmakers of the world. So anybody can look and find out where they can find a matchmaker or a shadchan and how they can get the support they need. And this isn't just for religious people. This is for secular people, traditional people. The entire Jewish people need support with this.
You raise an interesting point. I know traditionally in the Orthodox community, they rely on matchmakers.
Yes.
And it's becoming more of a trend today. But in the non-Orthodox community, tell us about the fact that matchmaking has really found a big niche again.
It totally opened up. Thank God for the show Jewish Matchmaking that came out on Netflix. A lot of the Orthodox community, if you don't have Netflix and you're not doing TVs, you don't see it. We don't have a TV. I joke. I was like, we don't own a TV. I just happen to be on one. But the show was really tremendous. It came out in May of 2023. And after that, there was an explosion. And all the Jewish matchmakers that I'm in touch with, they're like, oh my gosh, what a blessing. You kind of woke up the world and everybody's excited about matchmaking. And they're like, oh, this isn't just for Orthodox people. You mean you can set up religious people? You can set up traditional people. There's people that don't traditionally use a matchmaker and we could have one. So I don't like to call them a shadchan. A shadchan's for the religious people. I like to call it a matchmaker, a modern matchmaker, something that's very comfortable and very normal. And where they see that it's not such a bad thing. You can meet through a matchmaker, you can meet through a friend, you can meet through online, you could swipe on an app. There's, a lot of different ways to meet.
So is there a difference between a shadchan and a matchmaker?
So I think so. The main difference at this point, because the matchmakers or the modern matchmakers that I work with do this professionally full-time as a job, right? So they're not on the side, like a side matchmaking and I do my chesed and this is just what I do for my community. They have devoted full time. They are not social workers and therapists and they don't have other jobs that they're doing. They're literally doing a full-time matchmaking business and they built it differently. Like the shadchan model, it's a chesed model. If you get somebody engaged, you pay a success fee. I'll call it a mazel tov fee. We like to call it, or the shadchan gelt. But in the modern matchmaking world, you pay a fee for service, which is somebody's going to take you on. We're going to help you revamp your profile. We're going to help you with photos. We're going to help you with the write-up. We're going to help you get dates. We're going to help you set up the dates. We're going to navigating everything in the process from beginning to end. And they hire you for a period of time, a couple months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is. And they are your advocate because
so you're not just a matchmaker, you're a dating coach as well.
Yes. And I think dating coaching goes hand in hand with matchmaking. You can't just be like, I set you up, good luck, figure it out. It doesn't work like that. You really have to set people up and then walk the walk and talk the talk, hold their hand through the process. Do they need support? I have a lot of match stories, one in particular where I said to the woman specifically, I was like, listen, he's a great guy. You're not going to be wowed. And she's like, you're really selling this one. I was like, no, I'm just going to be straight with you. He is a high quality human. He is a fantastic human being. He might have more for you, like the boy next door vibe where it's like, oh, I think we could be friends. But I am telling you, he is husband material. He is a gem of a human. And he is going to be what I like to call, so a lot of people want like a spark. I said, he's not a spark and he's not a slow grow. He's going to be a slow spark. That's the Aleeza combination of the spark and the slow grow. It's going to be a slow spark. You're not going to see it today or tomorrow. In about 2 to 3 months, you're going to wake up one day and go, he's really grown on me. He's such a gem. Like, how could I not be with him? This is like, he's not the tall, dark, and handsome, stand by your side alpha male. Nope, that's not him. You have a different kind of a man. He will love you to the end of your days, and he is a gem. And if you give him time, you're going to see this is going to work.
Did it work?
It did. They got married last year. Yeah.
Mazel tov. Did you have to go to the wedding?
It was very close to the high holidays, and it was too far, but I sent in a video wishing them mazel tov so that everybody could see. It was they asked me to send them a video. I can do wedding videos. Hi, it's Aleeza. Congrats on your special day.
Our guest, international dating coach, shadchan, matchmaker, Aleeza Ben Shalom, based in Israel, but you could watch her on Netflix and the Jewish Matchmaking series. But she also starting the Jewish Matchmaking movement to connect matchmakers from around the world. Her new book is called Matchmaker Matchmaker. Find me a love that lasts. Let's get personal. Why did you become a matchmaker?
If you ask any matchmaker this, I think we all say the same thing. It feels like a calling and you naturally do it. So I grew up secular and I became observant in my early 20s. And I think he likes you. I think she likes you. Like, how do you know? Did you talk to them? I'm like, I know. Ask her out. was just always doing it. And in college, I remember being with some friends, and we were out getting some food and drinks. And, like somebody who wasn't with our group came over. It was a guy that I knew from work. And I saw right away there was chemistry between him and my friend. And I was like, excuse me, I got to go to the bathroom. And I disappeared, and I left them at the table alone to talk. And I was hiding out in the bathroom, watching from the door, I don't think I should go back yet. I'm just going to pretend like I'm stuck in the bathroom. And I left them there talking. And a couple years later, they got married. So I think that there's this inner calling of wanting to bring people together. I'm a natural connector. In the Enneagram, I'm probably a number 9, if that means anything to anybody. But I'm the peacemaker and the one. Also, I have a very, very strong intuition and insight, where I see certain things. For me, it's like putting a puzzle together. So I see and know all of these details about one person. I see and know all the other details. I see where it aligns. I see where it misaligns, but I know it probably could work because you'll learn to deal with this and they'll learn to deal with that, and we could navigate it. Versus, somebody once asked me to set up a match, and I just did not think it was a match. And I said, listen, I'm not the right person to do this because I can't sell the match. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it's right. I don't see the potential here. So I can't work with it. And she was very upset with me. I didn't even know she was upset with me, Zev, for a decade, until she told me.
Wow.
She didn't meet, nobody else set her up with him, or maybe she did and it didn't work out. I don't remember. And then she finally did meet somebody a decade later and got married. And then she told me that she forgave me. But you can't do something you don't believe in. So, and I don't want to stand in anybody's way. I said, I'm not trying to stop the match. I just can't.
But you don't want to accelerate, right?
But I'm not the right person to do the job. You need the person that believes it, that's invested, excited, empowered, and can help walk the walk and talk the talk. Because if he would call me asking me questions, well, what do you think? I'm going to tell him what I think. I don't think it makes sense. I don't even know why it was suggested. Nothing adds up to me.
Is there a course for somebody to become a matchmaker? In other words, does somebody wake up when they say, I'm going to be a matchmaker, I'm in business? How does one train for it, or is there training for it?
Okay, so there wasn't. When I started, there was nothing. And I worked with so many singles, and I kept saying to them, I don't know, we kept having conversations. And one person once said to me, listen, could you just train other people how to do this? You do this well. I like what you're doing. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. So there wasn't a course, but there is a course now, which is a matchmaker and mentorship training course that helps guide people through the process of matchmaking. And that's what we're doing with the Jewish Matchmaking movement. We are coming into full communities, doing a course, doing training, virtual and in person live, and then telling them, here's how you can build your community. We've done this in South Africa. I'm going to Germany soon. The UK is on tap for 2026, and also in Israel with Nefesh B'Nefesh. So we're starting to get out there and to expand our reach. And there actually is a woman in Mexico City, and she does have a training course and has trained over 30 matchmakers. And she's phenomenal.
Because I would assume every matchmaker has a different style. So what would you consider to be a successful matchmaker as opposed to an unsuccessful? Is it the number of matches they make, or is it their style? How would you rate them?
So if you're single, you're going to probably rank them how many matches they make. If you're me, it's going to be how do the people feel after working with you? Because even if I don't make your match, if I support you through the process, if I give you wisdom to help yourself on your own, if you walk away in a happier, healthier, mental, emotional state, and then move forward to be able to find your person, I consider that a tremendous success. I tell people, I'm like, I don't need to make your match. I need your match to be made. Me, I don't have to be the one to do it. Anybody can do it. But let's make sure that you're in the right place to receive the right person and to know, because so many people miss it, right? Somebody comes into their life, they're like, no. And we're going to have a lot of people going up and talking to God and Shemayim and like, no, why didn't you send my match? And he's like, no, why didn't you say yes? I did. So I think there is a right way.
Years ago, I used to do a column in the Jewish press called The Roving Jewish. I named through lots of people, and I had a lot of singles that were in the column. So I remember every week where I put pictures of the young ladies, men used to call me up and say, well, I like this one, I like that one. So finally, I asked him, what are you looking for? I'm looking for somebody who doesn't wear pants. I said, the person in this week's issue that you like, I know for a fact wears pants. So he goes, news shall change. The reason why I asked that question is, do people come with unrealistic expectations where they say, you know what, I'm a certain way, but if I go out, I'm going to assume the other person's going to change?
People expect that. I thought you were going to tell that story differently. I thought you were going to say he liked her photo. You said she wears pants. And then he says, that's okay. I don't mind. Right? Because to change somebody else, to say, oh, she'll change and she'll become what I need, that's a massive problem. For me to change and say, okay, let me reevaluate my values. Let me see what's important. But the way that you described the story,
I'm saying exactly what happened. It threw me for a loop, but I was intrigued by it.
Right. But had he said, it's fine, I could deal with that, right? Now he changed his values. Now, did he really change his values, or is he really planning on changing her later? It can be really problematic. So I always tell people, you can expect that the person that you're with will either stay the same where they're at, or get more intense over the time and dig into who they are more over time, not less. If they get better, great, good for you, get a bonus. But they're going to just dig into who they are. So the more that you want her to wear a skirt, the more she's going to be like, leave me alone. I came to you. I told you I wear pants. That's what I like. It's good for me. Like, you can't just like my face. If you don't like the pants that come with my face, don't try to date me. It's just the wrong match.
Don't skirt the issue. But here's the question. Here's the question, though, that is that, and you probably have this, where people come from different religious observance levels. And you have somebody maybe Orthodox, I don't mind going with somebody who's not Orthodox, or vice versa. So the question is what expectations would you recommend? Because sometimes people have a certain way of life and they are flexible, but the question is how flexible they are. How much do you set them up with somebody who doesn't fit their profile, but they're saying, I want to go out with somebody not religious or more religious, for example?
Okay, so we have different parts to ourselves. We've got the past, we've got the present, and we've got the future. And I always ask people to describe to me, how are you similar or different from your past? Where are you today? And in your future, what direction are you heading? Right? Are you going to be the same as you've always been? Are you becoming more religious? Are you becoming less religious? Are you not religious and you like it and that makes you happy too? And if I know where somebody came from, I can at least understand how they grew up in their mindset. If I know where they are, that's great. But more important than that to me is where they're heading and what their trajectory is, because we have to align you where you are today. But if I think one person is heading in one direction and the other person is heading in the other direction, then this actually isn't going to work. So my goal is to understand those three different things and then match based on that. I had one guy who was religious, grew up very religious, and he kind of had eased up over time. Now, he would still be called Orthodox, but maybe his family was more Haredi and he's not Haredi anymore, whatever it was. And he met somebody, or was considering somebody, that was more modern. The skirts were a little bit higher, the sleeves were a little bit shorter, nothing crazy, but like modern Orthodox. And we had these discussions and he's like, I don't know. And this, he went through everything back and forth. I said, who are you? Are you like your family, like you grew up, or are you different today? He said, no, I'm different today. I said, are you more closely aligned where she's at? He said, yeah. I said, okay. Do you need her to wear long skirts when you go to visit your family? He's like, yeah. I was like, great. Every other day of the year, can she just be who she is? And he was like, that's right. Like, and doesn't that align with you more? And he's like, yeah. I was like, right. I know your brain hurts because this is not what you were used to. And it's not what you grew up with, but it's who you've become over time. And you like who you are and you like where you're at. And she's at a good place, but you could have a conversation. Listen, we dress a certain way when we go to a wedding. We dress a certain way if we would walk into Mea Sharim. We dress a certain way when we go to my family. I think that's a perfectly fine conversation to have, to build respect among families and to know where you're at. But you also just have to accept her for who she is and don't try to change her. Like, she's not wearing stockings. Leave her alone.
Our guest, international matchmaker, Aleeza Ben Shalom. Of course, you could have caught her in the Netflix series called Jewish Matchmaking. She's now starring the Jewish Matchmaking movement together with World Mizrahi. Soon to be starting a new podcast, a video and audio podcast. And of course, her book is called Matchmaker Matchmaker. Find me a love that lasts. Did you use a shotgun or a matchmaker for yourself when you got married?
Okay, so here's the story. I grew up secular and I became observant, but through a pretty quick process, more than I would have expected. And my husband and I met at a Jewish singles retreat, but we left dating other people, but we were both from Philadelphia. And one night after Shabbos, he's like, you know, like, you want to go for a walk? And I was like, sure. And we went for a walk and talk around the neighborhood. And then 2 days later, I got a call from the rabbi, Aleeza. and I was newly religious. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, new. And basically the rabbi had become our shadchan because my husband brought him into the mix so that we could have, real conversations, and also to assess really where I was at, because I was very new into my observance, and it's not usually ideal to date at that time. And I just, like, things for me happen on a rapid time scale, which is kind of normal for Aleeza, but not normal for the world. So he was checking in, and he became our shadchan. But we dated for 3 weeks. We got married 4 months later. So it was a pretty rapid process. But he he was brought in to be the shadchan. We weren't set up by a shadchan. But I think it's really wise of my husband that even though we weren't set up by a shadchan, we had met at a retreat organically, he brought a shadchan in to say, no, we have to have somebody help us navigate this.
What made you decide to become observant?
So after this retreat, I had always done Jewish, and I loved being Jewish, but I wasn't living Judaism. And growing up conservative, it was conservative. I knew it. I didn't do it all the time. Like, it's all of these things. And I was like, this is so interesting. I love it. Why can't I do it? And I was like, well, I can. I'm an adult now. I can do anything I want, right? Graduated from university. I'm working. I'm living on my own. If I want to keep Shabbat, I can keep Shabbat. If I want to keep kosher, I can keep kosher. If I want to dress modestly, I can dress modestly. I can start praying. And I was like, okay, I'll just do those things. I actually wasn't trying to become religious. I was just trying to live the Judaism that I loved. And I also really fell in love with God and had this really deep connection. And I was like, I'm going to do something about that. Like, oh, you got some rules. I should probably try following them, or at least learning about them. And so I came into it very inspired, with a lot of energy and a lot of heart and soul, and
enthusiasm.
And enthusiasm. And the love was always there, just not the practice. Like, people say to us, like, are you Orthodox? What are you? And my husband's like, we're just practicing. Every day we wake up and we just practice our Judaism. I think that's what an observant Orthodox Jew, that's what we are actually just practicing every single day, trying to be a better person, trying to do mitzvot, trying to do all of the right things. And it really resonates very deeply with me. And we're married 23 years, thank God.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, we have 5 kids, and 5 years ago we made Aliyah to Israel.
Very nice. You made Aliyah from New York, from the United States.
From Philly. I know everybody thinks I'm from New York, but I'm not. I'm from Philly.
What's your biggest challenge being a matchmaker?
Oh, biggest challenge being a matchmaker. So first of all, I love everything. This is my passion. This is what I do. But I think the biggest challenge is when I really see potential and I get an immediate no, or even like a pause/no. And it's like, no, okay. Well, don't have any more ideas for you. And like I've been looking for a long time. And if I make a suggestion, just maybe it might not be your person, but you maybe want to consider going out, because I really see potential. And you, like, when you can't see what I see, and when I can't help you to see that vision and to understand why I would make that suggestion, that's probably one of the more frustrating things, but it just goes with the territory. Like, it just is what it is. And I also don't like when people, like, they talk about really bad, wrong advice. And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm going to do nothing. And if it happens, it happens. If not, I don't know if my soulmate exists. And I was like, whoa, not MS. This is not truth. Hold on, let's back up. No, I can't do anything. They, like, when people shut down or they just spout things that are not wisdom and truth, it bothers me.
This is a true story, which it just came to mind as we're speaking. I was on a Pesach cruise about 35 years ago, approximately. And there was a bachelor on the boat in his 50s, never married, from England, very successful. I was actually taping a TV show during Talamod, during the intermediate days of the Passover holiday. And I have him on video, and I say to him, are you married? He says, he points to every woman, that's my wife. Everybody's his wife. He meets a woman the 7th day of Passover, which was on a Thursday. The boat docks on Friday. They go on their first date on Sunday. And we went to the wedding Thursday night with the band from the boat, the caterer, the rabbi from the boat. Amazing story, right? And he was in his 50s. Never mind. She was a woman in her 30s from Manhattan. He lived in England.
Wow.
And we went to the wedding, which was a very nice wedding. But the interesting part of the story, and the God plays a hand in everything, that Friday night, they're on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. They're in a hotel. They're making Sheva Brachos. They're missing a 10th man. So they go down. One guy goes down to the street, sees a guy walking his dog. Are you Jewish? Yes. He goes, we come for a minyan for Sheva Brachos. He goes, yes. Puts the dog away, comes up, puts on a yarmulke. Turns out he was on the cruise too. And I checked. I was at a dinner a number of years ago, and they're still happily married with children. So you never know when you're going to find the right person. So you must have crazy stories like that too, where people you didn't think were going to be a match and turned out to be a match.
That happens also. So like I said, before I said about somebody, I didn't see the potential. So I said, have somebody else set it up. There was another match and the guy called me, what do you think? I said, I'm not so sure. I wasn't supposed to be the matchmaker. I was actually just the coach. I said, I'm not sure that I exactly see it, but like, okay. And they went out and it was a lot of back and forth and there were a lot of challenges. This was one of those matches where it was a match that they made with their head, the decision, not with their heart. And what I saw was like there's the emotional piece that's not exactly aligned, but they made the decision to get married and they're married. But it's like on one side, there is a little bit of that like heart piece that's like been a challenge the whole time that's missing a little bit. And what I saw, I was right about that. But what I was wrong about is that everybody has free will and they get to make their own decision. And this was a match that both sides said yes to. But again, they need to have the right matchmaker. So I wouldn't have been the right person to be able to lovingly nurture this forward if I didn't believe in it or know how to navigate it. And this other matchmaker pulled it together and made it happen. So
not all matches, some not all matchmakers are equal. So you have to find one that you're able to connect with.
Yeah. And anybody can be a matchmaker. I think singles can go out with somebody and don't say I wasted my time. If they're not for you, who do you know? Set them up. It is everybody's obligation to be a matchmaker. It should be every single person's side hobby. It should be their habit. Everybody should be looking out for each other. That's the way I see it.
Here's an interesting question. We're dealing with singles. What about those that have been divorced? Sometimes you find people divorced 3, 4, 5 times or even more. Does that provide a challenge for you?
So statistically speaking, it gets harder to keep a marriage together. The more divorces that you've had, the numbers kind of go astronomically up. But I've also seen people who have, this one woman I know, she was, on to her third husband. That's it. She's been with him, the whole time. The first time, she had kids with the first one. With the second one, she tried again, but it wasn't the right fit. But by the third one, she nailed it and everything was fine. I think that as long as we are learning from the experiences we have and that we're open to growth and we're open to connection and figuring it out, I think that people can get remarried. And, we're in the modern world, so it's not uncommon to hear this. And I have seen many successful marriages come from second or third or beyond.
Now, a number of years ago, there was an article in Moment magazine that showed that the older a woman was, there were less available men. In the 20s, there was more available men. Then you have men that get divorced, mamas, boys, gays, you name the factors. So when you reach a certain age, I think it was in the 40s, you have a smaller amount of available men available for women. I don't know if that still holds true. And if it does, how do you deal with that?
It still holds true. I like to say that I don't think that God does fuzzy math. I think that God's math is perfectly straight. I think we need to put on our God glasses and take a look around the world and go, listen, I don't understand this equation. It doesn't look right and it doesn't sound right, but I'm pretty sure you don't do fuzzy math. Everybody has the potential to meet and marry their soulmate. And we don't just get one soulmate in a lifetime. If it doesn't work out and that breaks, then we have the opportunity to have another soulmate in a lifetime. So I don't understand this equation. I didn't pass that math class yet, but God.
It's not like there's an Israeli movie, I forgot the name of it, where a woman books a wedding hall and doesn't have the husband.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, when the time the wedding day came back, she found her husband, the owner of the hall, right?
Yes. Fabulous movie. And I also, I'm blanking on the name, but it was so good.
What's your advice to people as we close down? What people should we be looking for, whether a matchmaker or in a soulmate?
So for a soulmate, I think that you need to find somebody that is a kind person. Looks and personality and values and all of these things. At the end of the day, if they are a kind, good human and everything else can be in a range of alignment of what works for you, you're going to walk away happy, because kindness only gets better over time. That's something that doesn't tarnish, and it's something that, like a fine wine, improves over time. And many other traits that we look for don't necessarily refine themselves to such beauty, but specifically with kindness, that's the number one. As for looking for a matchmaker, if you feel seen and heard and understood and validated, you have found a fabulous matchmaker. And if you feel like your arm has been twisted and somebody is mean and somebody gives you attitude and they tell you things in a way that you don't like to hear it, then I think you should find a new matchmaker.
Beauty is only skin deep, but ugliness is right down to the core. If people want to get more information about your services and find out more what you're doing, how can they do so?
You can go to AleezaBenShalom.com or JewishMatchmaking.com.
You may want to spell Aleeza because you spell it a little differently than some other
I
people.
do. It's Aleeza Ben Ben Shalom.
Of course, you can always get the book Matchmaker Matchmaker. Find Me in Love That Lasts, Aleeza's latest book. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to
Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.